Alright guys, what is going on? Welcome back to Chicago Carl, and today we have a video that I'm very excited for. We are going to be predicting and previewing the 2021 NL East MLB season. Before we get into it though, make sure to check us out on Instagram at chicagocarl.yt. Be sure to check us out on Twitter at chicagocarl. You can be sure to leave a comment down below telling me what you think about this upcoming season. You can be sure to leave a like and subscribe as well. Last year, the NL East was one of the most competitive divisions in all of baseball. You had the Braves taking first place with a 35-25 record in the shortened season. The Marlins stuck it out in second, 31-29 was their final. Phillies went 28-32, a bit of a down year. Nationals went 26-34. Mets also went 26-34. This year, though, we're going back to the regular 162 game season. There's going to be more room for error, more room for guys getting hurt, and more unpredictability, though. So, today, we're going to be going through what we think will happen. We're going to be breaking down standings predictions and what players we think will be standouts for their respective clubs. First place, as you probably saw from the thumbnail, we're predicting that it's going to be the Atlanta Braves. We're going to be doing this a little bit differently here. We're going to go from first place to last place. I think the Braves are going to be the first place team. This, for me, was a pretty easy prediction. They have guys like Marcell Ozuna, who was raking last year. He led the NL in home runs. He is raking so far in spring training. You have Ronald Acuna Jr., who is a generational talent out in left field. Freddie Freeman, who was the MVP last year. He was a dog. Hopefully he can keep up his production. Dansby Swanson is the guy that really hasn't broken out to his full potential, in my opinion, yet. Obviously, at Vanderbilt, he was the guy. In the MLB, though, not so much. I think he still has some room to grow. Ian Anderson's going to be a good guy for the pitching staff. Austin Riley is a young guy a lot of people think is poised to have a breakout year. Charlie Morton came over from Tampa. He's going to be a good addition in that rotation. You have Mike Soroka, who is going to be a great guy to have for this pitching staff. Jake Lamb's going to play third base. He's going to give you 25, maybe 30 home runs. And that's really about it. Oh, and I forgot to mention Ozzie Albies. How did I forget him? He has the potential to be great. I hope he continues to break out and play up to his potential because he is a generational talent. Yeah, that's really the stars for this Braves team, but the big thing is this Braves team, they play together. Their pitching staff always comes through. They have a solid offense, a solid defense. In every single category, they just perform pretty well in, and I think against the competition in this division this year, they're going to play just as equally as well. As far as a standings prediction goes, I'm going to think that the Braves are going to be right around 92-70, I think is a good spot for them. I don't think they're going to get way too ahead of the rest of the NL East, to be honest, because I just think this competition has so much, this division has so much competition. I don't think that one team is necessarily going to break away from the rest of the pack, but I think 92-70 is a good spot for this Braves team. After that, second place, we have the New York Mets. The Mets made a splash in the offseason this year, picking up the star shortstop from the Cleveland Indians, Francisco Lindor. He is going to be a big guy for this Mets team. They're going to look to get a lot of production out of him. We've seen a lot of talk recently, just specifically regarding the contract he's going to be receiving, because it's pretty clear that the Mets want to extend him. As far as how much that is going to be, no one really knows. I've seen numbers as high as $300 million, and I've seen numbers as low as $200 million, but I think it'll be somewhere in there, and I think he's worth every cent of that contract if he can continue to produce like he has been this spring training. They also managed to get James McCann. He came over from the White Sox. He is an underrated catcher that I think will serve this team pretty well when they need him to. And, I think he's just a good addition to this team. Carlos Carrasco, coming off of his, obviously he had a battle with cancer. He's going to be coming back. Hopefully he can produce well for this Mets team. Jacob deGrom, everyone's favorite Cy Young candidate. He's going to put up his crazy strikeout numbers and his crazy ERA numbers. Joey Lucchesi from San Diego is a young guy I think has potential. Taijuan Walker is the guy they got from the Mariners who I think will produce. They still have guys like Noah Syndergaard. As far as he'll be able to produce like he has been in the past, I don't know. He is getting a bit old and he has dealt with some injuries in the past. Pete Alonso had a bit of a sophomore slump last year, but I don't think his career is over by any means. I'd still expect him to provide this team with tons of power off the first base side. Trevor May is a pitcher that a lot of AL Central fans are pretty familiar with, as he used to pitch for the Twins. And that's really all I gotta say for this team. They did sign Marcus Stroman, who is one of my personal favorite players in the league. I think he'll be good for this team. If he can stay healthy, though, that is a big deal. But yeah, that's about it. That's all I have to say for this roster. They have guys like Almora, Pilar, Michael Conforto, Khalil Lee, and Jonathan VR, who just kind of round out this team's roster and bench. But yeah, I think this will be a great team. I'm excited to see what they can do. And as far as a standings prediction goes, I'm going to give them, I think a good spot for this team is probably right around 89 and 73, I think is where this team really belongs. That's a good niche for this Nets team. So they're going to finish, as you saw, 2 games back from the Braves. Third place, we have the Philadelphia Phillies. This should not be a surprise. The Phillies managed to re-sign JT Realmuto, which is a move I think they should have made. But even though they have guys like Harper, Didi Gregorius, Archie Bradley, and whatnot, and Rhys Hoskins, they don't have enough pitching, similar to the Angels, to really, I think, make a deep push, especially in a division with teams like the Braves and the Nationals. But that doesn't mean that I think this team is bad by any means. I think this Phillies team is good, and if you were to tell me right now that the Phillies are going to make a push to play for a wild card spot, I'd believe you, because that's probably where I think they're going to finish. I think, if the Mets finish 89-72, I see no reason why the Phillies can't finish 88-74 right there with them. Besides that, though, like we said, JT Realmuto, standout catcher behind the dish, probably one of, if not the best catchers in baseball. Bryce Harper in right field is going to give you good home run numbers, not great average numbers, but he'll be serviceable regardless. You have Didi Gregorius, who is he's a big time shortstop. I mean, he's going to give you some good hits. He's going to hit for average. He's going to help your team out when you need him the most. He's going to be an efficient guy. Alec Boehm is going to be at third base. He's a young guy I'm excited to see produce for this Phillies team. Archie Bradley on the mound, good pitcher. He had a career so far with the Diamondbacks. Hopefully, he can continue his sort of reputation with the Phillies. Jose Alvarez, I think, is a guy that a lot of people are excited about. Matt Moore, Mickey Koniak. Zach Wheeler is a guy that I think will be big for this Phillies team. And obviously their ace, Aaron Nola. He is their biggest production guy in the pitching department. And I think he's really their only sort of line of defense against guys like DeGrom, Syndergaard, guys like that. I think he's really the best that this team has to combat those players with. And that's about it. That's all I really have for this Phillies team. So in conclusion, 88-74 I think is a good record for this team, right behind the Braves. I'm excited to see what the Phillies do with some of these young guys, but I don't think they have enough pitching around guys like Harper and Realmuto and Hoskins to really make a deep push, which is sad because they're just wasting those guys' careers and contracts. Coming in fourth place, we have the Washington Nationals. This really should not be a surprise. Last year they did finish fourth in their division. Obviously, they had Juan Soto, who was hurt for a lot of last year, so he didn't get to really play to his fullest potential, put up the numbers we thought he was going to put up. But regardless, they have most of their roster returning from their 2019 World Series team, but they're still missing some key guys. Juan Soto, like we said, is the big name out here in Washington. I think he's going to be great this year, like he always is. I think this year could be the year that he pushes for that MVP spot. I know he finished second in voting last year, I think it was, or maybe it was third, but he is always rumored every single year to get that MVP spot. This year, I think, is the optimal time for him. They do have Josh Bell, who had a bit of an inefficient last year, uncharacteristic year for him. He usually hits home runs at a greater rate, but he'll be coming over from the Pirates. Kyle Schwarber in left field, in my opinion, bad signing. He's not what he was poised to be when he was a young guy. He's not going to be as productive for this team as I think some fans think he will be, but regardless, he's on the roster. They have an aging John Lester, who I don't think will be too productive for this team. Obviously the guy can't pick off. He's a shell of his former self. He's a shell of his former 2016 Cubs World Series John Lester. He's not going to be the guy that is going to get this team really over the hump. They still have Mad Max Scherzer, arguably, and in some people's opinion, the best pitcher in the National League, even in front of guys like Syndergaard and DeGrom. He's going to be a huge productive guy for this team. He's going to get them at least 20 wins, probably going to have a sub-3, sub-250 ERA. That's my prediction for him. Trey Turner is a shortstop on this team that I think is going to lead the way aside Juan Soto. I think he'll be productive. I think he'll be great. But I don't think those two alone are really going to be enough to hoist this offense because, like I said, I don't think signings like Schwarber and Bell are enough to really get this team over the hump, over teams like the Mets, the Braves, and even the Phillies. I don't think it's enough. You have guys like Steven Strasburg who are going to be good rotation guys for you. Carter Kieboom is another young guy similar to Trey Turner who's going to be fun to watch this year. They have guys like Josh Harrison, Patrick Corbin, Alex Avila, Joe Ross. That's all I really got for this team. As far as the standings prediction goes, I'd give them 80 and 82. I think they're going to be right under 500. And if they were in really any other division, I think they could be looking at sort of like 83, 79, 84, 84, 78. But in this division specifically, I just don't see that as a realistic projection. So that's why I have them going 80 and 82. And in last place, should not be a surprise, we have the Miami Marlins. This team they're just in the midst of a rebuild. It's that simple. All these guys on this roster, most of them, if they're not incredibly young, are simply filler guys that are just here to eat up some money, get the Marlins some games, and wait for the big guys to come in and put up numbers for this team in years like 2022, 2023, 2024, which is when their young core is going to finally piece together. But looking at that young core, I think some notable names are guys like Sixto Sanchez, who is a pitcher who has looked great for this Marlins ball club so far this year. Brian Anderson's the third baseman. He's just here to waste time. Adam Duvall, he'll be a very underrated home run hitter, most likely for this team, because it seems like every single year he hits like 25 home runs and no one talks about him. So he'll be there. Trevor Rogers is a pitcher that just kind of here to waste time. Starling Marte, same thing with him. Sandy Alcantara is a young guy I'm excited to see come together with Sixto. Pablo Lopez is another young guy that I'm excited about. Jazz Chisholm, Luis Brinson is a young guy I think will be so productive for this team in future years. Miguel Rojas last year, who was technically the MLB's average leader for like 2 weeks because the Marlins only played like 3 games before it got canceled due to COVID. He's an underrated shortstop who I think will be lethal for this team. And that's about it as far as guys I really see on this roster. I mean, names like Jesus Sanchez, Eliezer Hernandez, John Beardy, Isan Diaz, Zach Pop, Garrett Cooper, Anthony Bass, Adam Klimber. These names don't pop out to me. They don't look like names that are really going to shock the world, and they're not going to. I do want to mention, actually, I did forget him. Jesus Aguilar is a signing I liked for this team. I think he's going to continue to put up his early Milwaukee numbers. I know he had a tough last year with Milwaukee and they dealt him, but I think he's back. He's going to be productive for this team. As far as the standings prediction goes, sad to say it, I can see him going literally, 65, 97, 66, 98, right around there. I don't think this team's going to perform that much better, really. They're going to get literally just embarrassed by teams like the Braves and the Mets. Like, they're going to roll over them night in and night out. Those won't be fun games to watch. That's all I got. Thank you guys for sticking around to the end of this video. Be sure to check us out on Instagram at chicagocarl.yt. Be sure to check us out on Twitter at chicagocarl. Be sure to leave a like and subscribe for future videos. You can drop a comment down below telling me what you think will happen with this year's NL East season. Stay nice. Have a good day. I'm out.